2021-2022 program, FAST program, we will be hosting additional webinars and workshops on this topic for our audience. So stay tuned for more. But again, thank you. This was a wonderful panel, and we so appreciate you. And now it's time for our final panel discussion. Program directors share insights, how to navigate SBIR grant funding opportunities. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce you to our panel moderator, Eldon Hawks, Partnership and Innovation Specialist, SBIR STTR Office of Investment and Innovation, U.S. Small Business Administration. And we're so fortunate to work with Eldon in his capacity as the FAST program lead, and especially given his insights as a former SBIR program manager at the U.S. Department of Agriculture. So we're so grateful to welcome our esteemed panelists, all SBIR program managers at federal agencies, and they are the lifeblood of non-dilutive funding for innovation. Thank you so much, Eldon. I'll let you take it away.
Thank you very much, Krista. I greatly appreciate it. I want to thank you for having me again, as well as thank you to all of the program managers that are with us today. I want to start just by, who's first alphabetically? Was Eileen?
Yes.
Yeah, Eileen
I'm
Kent.
here. I'm here.
Yes, with us from the Department of Energy. I'm sorry, I remember everyone's first name because we're always talking, and last names always escape me for some reason as far as alphabetical order. But she is with us from the Department of Energy. Eileen, could you give a brief overview on your program? Just, you know, a couple minutes talking about your program and maybe some sort of the research and topics that you guys have funded.
Yes, thank you, Eldon. Hi, my name is Eileen Chan. I am the DOE SBIR STTR Programs Office Outreach Manager. So I'm going to try to very briefly talk to you about the program. Just to get started, I know you've been learning all day long about SBIR STTR. The Department of Energy, each agency is different. And if you're going to go for SBIR funding, get to know your agency. The DOE has very specific topics that are aligned with the DOE mission. We don't necessarily fund broad topics. We fund a very wide variety of topics, but they are specific. We have 2 funding opportunity announcements a year. The next one, the next topics document will open on November 8th. Please go to our funding opportunities page. The link is shown here. On November 8th, the topics document will be populated at that time. Review the topics document, see if there's a fit. There's a lot of topics. There's a wide range of topics. We can go to the next slide. I'm not going to talk about all of these topics because there's a lot there, but I do want you to know that even though we do issue specific topics, we have a wide variety of topics. The DOE provides leadership in clean energy technology. Everybody knows that probably about the Department of Energy, but did you know that we fund topics in basic energy engineering sciences? And we also fund topics in enhancement of nuclear security, which includes environmental remediation of nuclear waste sites and nuclear non-proliferation. So you might not think of your research and development as syncing with the Department of Energy, but you don't know until you dig in and look at our topics document. Next slide. Our phase 1 grant is the entry point into the program. November 8th, again, a funding cycle opens for you to apply for phase 1. You have to be very responsive to the topic. But take a look, the maximum phase 1 grant is either about $200,000 or $250,000, depending on the topic. It is a feasibility evaluation. It is an early stage idea in which you're doing a proof of concept study on your research and development. It's an idea about a product that you want to develop and take it to the marketplace. Phase 1 is a feasibility evaluation. If the feasibility evaluation is successful, you will be able to move on to phase 2, which is a larger award over a larger period of time, and you work on prototyping, technology demonstration, testing, and commercialization. I have shown my contact information at the bottom of the slide. Please reach out with questions about the DOE SBIR STTR program. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Eileen. And I'm pretty sure there will be a lot of people with questions by the time we are done. Next up is going to be, and she's not with us at the moment, but she's going to join us a little bit later, is April Richardson, who is a program manager for the Environmental Protection Agency. After April, and you'll see the slides there, and she'll be here shortly just to answer all of your questions and to join in the conversation. Next, we have Janelle Steele from the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, aka NASA.
Thanks, Eldon. You can go to the next slide. Yes, I'm Janelle Steele. I'm the Deputy Program Executive for our SBIR and STTR programs. I do want to give you, go ahead to the next slide. As Eileen had mentioned, there are various phases to each one of our programs. You'll find that all the agencies have phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. That's probably where the commonalities stop because each phase can be different as far as the funding level and also as far as the duration. For NASA, we have 125K phase 1. For SBIR, the duration is 6 months, and for STTR, it's 13 months. All of our phase 1 awardees within their award is used as an RFP for their phase 2 proposals. So it's only our phase 1 awardees can put in phase 2 proposals. And those proposals are due at the end of your phase 1 award. And if given a phase 2 award, that would be for $750K, 24 months, both for SBIR and for STTR. We have a couple of opportunities that we put on our program to help with establishing and understanding who your customers are. And one of those is the I-Corps program. We've been in partnership with the NSF in sending some of our phase 1 awardees to the I-Corps program to do customer discovery and understand where they can align their technology with the right internal to NASA and external commercial customers. We also have TABA, as was mentioned by Randy on your last presentation. TABA is a big opportunity for phase 1 and phase 2 awardees to take advantage of someone supporting your work. Lastly, we have a couple of post-phase 2 opportunities listed down there, and those are efforts to kind of bridge that valley of death to allow you to move your technology on to better infuse into NASA or be commercialized. Next slide. And this just gives you an idea of what we've awarded just in 2021, understanding the audience here, that we have a couple of folks who would be interested, that we did award some 27% of our proposals were to underrepresented groups, women-owned, minority-owned businesses. 19% of our proposals that partnered with MSIs or HBCUs. So we are actively trying to make sure that we are getting a very diverse pool of technologists into working on our different NASA needs. Next slide. And lastly, and this is probably the most important of the slides, there are opportunities within our program to hear and to understand what we are looking for more specifically. Throughout the year, we have representation across all of our centers in our program. They're called the Center Technology Transition Liaisons, CTTLs. You can talk to them at any time. If you go to our solicitation at sbir.nasa.gov, you'll see a center that is sponsoring or responsible primarily for that subtopic that might be of interest to you. You can look at the contact page on our website and get the CTTL and ask to speak to a subject matter expert. This is a great time to do so because we do, unlike some other agencies, we do have a communications blackout period where once the solicitation is open and until we announce the awards, we do not talk technically about the content. So if you have an opportunity now to start to talk to some folks, please do. And the CTTLs are really good. We have one-on-one meetings that you can sign up for. If you go down to that sbir.nasa.gov info page, you can sign up for our newsletter. You can sign up for the one-on-one meetings that will happen November 10th and 17th. If you happen to have a phase 2 award, you can also sign up for the post phase 2 webinar that will go on November the 3rd. And then we'll talk more about dissecting the actual solicitation and understanding where you should put your proposal sometime coming up in the winter months. That's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Janelle. Appreciate it. And before we hop over to Robert Vincent, NIH, I want to just make a few points based on some of the things that Janelle said. She talked about that blackout period for contacting program managers, and you're going to see that those differences. Particularly, you tend to see it along the lines of contracting agencies versus granting agencies. This is what I want you to understand, that we have both contracting and granting agencies there, and they're going to be here with SBIR, STTR. You're going to see nuances between both, or between the two, as to how programs are run, and also pretty much what the mechanisms are for application, communication, and even review. So with that said, we turn it over to Robert Vincent from the National Institutes of Health.
All right. Good afternoon. Thank you, Alden. Next slide, please. You're going to hear a lot of NIH as far as Health and Human Services. And under the Health and Human Services umbrella, you have the CDC, you've got the FDA, and also the ACL, the Administration for Community Living. Primarily, this couple of minutes, I'm going to be talking about NIH. Although CDC and FDA are partners with us in small business programs and the SBIR program, their programs are too small to have technology transfer programs. So NIH does cover both SBIR and STTR awards at approximately $1.2 billion budget. Also, ACL participates in the small business SBIR program with a small budget also. And all of us are looking forward to making and contacting you, as far as talking with you as far as innovation going forward with SBIR and the STTR program. Next slide, please. Okay, you must realize that the NIH is the largest funder of grants in the federal government. And we're also the largest source of early stage capital for life sciences in the United States. And all that means is that this is essentially free money, non-diluted capital. It's not a loan. You don't have to repay it back, whether the research is successful or not. This money that you receive in the form of grants or in the form of contracts is not something that you have to pay back. NIH is unique in that we do both grants and contracts. We've got a small portion of our portfolio that are dedicated to contract mechanism. So that provides us a lot of flexibility. Most agencies are one or the other, grants or contracts. The other thing I wanted to mention is that the intellectual property, the data rights remain yours. We don't take a piece of that. What you also need to realize is that most of our companies, once they receive an award from us, they use it as leverage to attract investors and strategic partners. Most VC or investors don't want to invest in a brand new company because there's too much risk, as you know. We also have extremely large budgets, larger than most other agencies. As you can see down at the bottom there, phase 1 awards, approximately $259,000 for 1 or 2 year period. We also have a waiver that if you needed more than that, or if you needed up to that amount, you would speak with us and we'd get permission to fund those awards at whatever dollar amounts you can justify. Our phase 2 awards are approximately $1,730,000 for 1 to 3 year time frame. Okay, biomedical and life science research is very expensive because we do a lot with clinical trials on human subjects. So those costs are escalated by those factors. Next slide, please. Okay, also, when you think of NIH, just don't think of medicine or biomedical research. We do a lot of things that are not typically found in that biomedical bottle or area. We have technologies that range from diagnostics. It's kind of hard to see on this particular slide, but essentially this slide it talks about our success stories. And throughout the US, we've got 35 different awards that have been made that cover a wide range from cancer all the way to minority health and health disparities. We do things like digital health, drug analysis, drug research, medical devices and research testing. So we cover a wide range of areas of research. So we stress to you that please reach out to us, talk to us, and just see if your research fits into what our mission is or what we're trying to do. All right, next slide, please. Okay, contacting us is very easy. We have all forms of social media where we're more than willing to talk with you prior to receiving an award. We stress that if you want to apply to one of our submission dates or receipt dates, we have 3, which again provides us a lot of flexibility. These 3 receipt dates are January 5th, April 5th, and September 5th. So again, we stress that prior to submitting your budget, prior to submitting that application, please talk with us. We have a list of program officials that can be found on our website. That's going to be under sbir.nih.gov. Just pull down our website and it's going to list the program officials that you can talk to from the various institutes that provide funding in the SBIR program. We have 24 institutes ranging again from aging all the way to minority health. You name it, we cover whatever particular disease or ailment that's out there. Right now, COVID, as we all know, has played a major factor. You all see Dr. Tony Fauci on the news virtually every day. He's the director of our Allergies and Infectious Diseases Division or Institute. So we cover a wide gamut of research, and we're very anxious and eager to speak with you about your area of research or what you're interested in. We also do a lot of investigator-initiated funding. I'm sorry, we take your topics or we're interested in your topics. We have a list of topics like in the other agencies, some 600 various topics for all the institutes that we have, but we're also interested in funding research that you're interested in looking at or pursuing. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Robert. And last but not least, from the National Science Foundation, we have Henry Ahn to talk to us today.
All right, thank you very much. So my name's Henry Ahn. I work with the biomedical technologies topic within our SBIR STTR program. Next slide, please. So I want to apologize in advance that I lost all the pretty pictures along the way, so my slides are not as pretty as other presenters. I was trying to combine some useful information into one slide, and I lost some pictures along the way. But as you know, NSF is primarily a funding agency with an annual budget of approximately $8.5 billion. And within NSF, our SBIR STTR office operates with an annual budget of slightly over $200 million. All the companies that are going through SBIR program with us pretty much have to apply for phase 1 first, up to 256K. And these companies can move on to apply for a phase 2, which can go up to $1 million. And those phase 2 companies have the opportunity to go through multiple supplements. And I listed phase 2B here because that's the biggest supplement that we have, going up to about $500,000, but we do have other smaller supplements going up to about 20% or under 20%, less than 20% of the phase 2 award. So when it's all said and done, it'll be close to $2 million, depending on how much of the supplements companies are able to take advantage of. And our hope is that by using this fund to de-risk the technology, that companies will be able to go out and raise some additional capital, private investments or strategic partners, and continue to grow the business beyond the grant that we can provide. So unlike NIH, you can't really request for more than the maximum amount with us. With phase one, make sure that you don't request for more than 256K, because if it goes over, your proposal will most likely be returned without review, and you would have to just correct it and then come back and submit it again. And one thing that does make our SBIR program unique is that we're technology agnostic. There is no such thing as a bad topic fit. As long as the company is working on developing an innovative technology with commercial potential, there is a fit somewhere within our program. So instead, our emphasis is actually on early stage and startup companies. So I included a couple of stats from the past several years. As you can see, over 75% of the phase one awardees were first-time SBIR, STTR winners ever from any agency. And over 70% of the companies were founded within the past 3 years. And so that doesn't mean that if a company has a long history of being in business, that that they're not eligible. They are technically eligible to apply, but for those companies, it's generally a good idea to include some information on why this phase one funding will be critical for them and will be important in terms of continuing to grow the business. And as one of our criteria, we do have, as part of our commercial criteria, we do look for this funding to act as a catalyst for the company. So that's an important thing to keep in mind. If you have received multiple grants through other agencies, for example, it's probably a good idea to just kind of reach out to us and have a discussion with us, see where you are and what this phase one funding would mean for the company, and we can have that type of discussion. So we do encourage all the companies to reach out to us with any questions. So please do come and reach out to us and have a discussion with us if you kind of fall into that category of being in business for a while. Next slide, please. So how to get started? All the companies do have to submit a project pitch first. We do have a project pitch portal. The link is there, as you can see. If you go to seedfund.nsf.gov, I mean, that is the SBIR homepage within NSF, and you'll be able to see a lot, get to a lot of different information. But the project pitch link, as you can see that link, if you follow and go to that link, you'll be able to submit a quick project pitch. At this point, you're not really being evaluated. Just go ahead and submit it. There's just several questions that we're asking for. And also, just don't worry about the topic fit. Once you submit it under biomedical technologies, for example, when I look at it, I might think it's a better fit under medical devices, for example, and we'll move it around internally. So, so don't worry about the fit, just go ahead and submit. You will hear back within 3 weeks, and this mainly is to just help us to see whether there is a fit or not. So for example, a company that's trying to do clinical trials, it's one of the things that NSF does not do. And for those companies, we can just go right back to them and say, hey, it's not a good fit for NSF because NSF does not do clinical trials. So companies can stop right there and don't worry about wasting time putting together the full proposal. But those that do get invited to submit a full proposal, it's really important to go through the solicitation guideline very carefully. The type of information that we require will be very different from other agencies. And I think it's probably going to be the same way for all the different agencies, that the solicitation guideline is going to be very critical. So with that, companies would be submitting a full proposal through our online system. And if you can go to the next slide. Next slide, please. Yep. So this is our review process. Basically, the first 3 months, the application will go through merit review, and the final decision will be made within 4 to 6 months of the proposal submission. And by the way, we do work. I mean, we don't really have deadlines. We have what we call solicitation, submission windows. So proposals can pretty much come in throughout the submission window, although most of the companies do submit the proposal towards the end of the submission window. Our goal is to get to the final decision on funding within 4 to 6 months from the time of submission. And hopefully by the 6th month, the company will be receiving the award notice if it's been recommended. And once the award notice goes out, companies can start the project, can start drawing down on the fund and work on the phase 1 project. I believe that's all the information that I brought today. If you go to the next slide, it does have my contact information there. So if you do have any specific questions, just let me know, and you can email me, and I'll also be answering some questions here till the rest of the session today. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry. Now we're going to get into a lot of the questions that we often hear about the SBIR process. I'm going to fill these questions out to all of the representatives here. And one of the things I hope that you gathered so far just from the basic introductions is the similarities amongst all the programs, but also more importantly, the differences as well. You have some that have open topics where they're PI initiated, where pretty much you bring your research, and either we fund great scientific research, and in case of NSF, and Henry talked about, or you bring things that fit into our sort of groups or topic areas, as Rob talked about, in DOE. And then you have specific research needs, much to what Janelle talked about as well. So those are the many of the differences you're going to find with SBIR and STTR, and you're going to really have to do your research to find out which agency would be best for your technology. And that's where a lot of that communication comes into play. But I'm going to start this one off with Eileen. What are some of the top 5 do's and don'ts? Let's start with the do's that you see companies can do to increase their success in application and ultimately getting an award.
So I in my presentation, I did emphasize the aspect of being a good fit with the topic and the subtopic for which you apply. That's very important. Go when you go to the topics document, look at the table of contents, do some keyword searches, and see if the technology, the R&D you're working on can be used to solve the problem that is being discussed in our topics document. So once you decide, oh, this is a good fit, I can solve this particular problem, you need to sort of get yourself organized. If it's your first time submitting a DOE SBIR STTR application, you really got to make sure you can devote some time to it. You have 3 months. Go ahead and parse out some time every week to work on it. Get to know the funding opportunity announcement as well too. Read the document so that you understand the application process, and don't make mistakes that would cause your proposal. Your proposal could become declined if you make certain mistakes in the application process. So read the FOA, try to figure out what's a good fit with the if your technology is a good fit with the topic, and then really kind of spend time with the application process.
Thank you, Eileen. Now, how about some don'ts? Like, what are some things that an application or a company should not do when it comes to applying? I guess a lot of that kind of goes into making sure your topic or your research fits the topic. Was there anything else you can really advise anybody?
Well, it is a competitive research and development program. People ask about award rates, and it is about 20 to 25%, but you do have to be an expert in the area for which you are conducting R&D. You should be familiar with the state of the art of the technology, what's out there, what's new about what you're proposing, and be familiar with the literature review as well too. As far as mistakes really that are made, it really has to do with not being fully responsive to the topic, and then also not following the directions as far as the application process is concerned. But in addition to that, make sure that you have a good work plan. It's a feasibility evaluation. Make sure you have a strong technical approach to do the proof of feasibility or proof of concept, and that you have you come up with a good, organized, logical work plan. Make sure that you have your team rounded out so that all the expertise that's required to conduct the research and development, they're the right people. You can hire subcontractors, you can have research institutions assist with your proposal, and then have a good idea also about where you're going, what kind of product you're going to create. And phase one does not emphasize commercialization, but you really should be thinking at this point, very early on, who your customer is going to be, whether it's public or private, and how you're going to make an impact on the technology area.
Thank you, Eileen. You dropped a whole lot there. I hope everybody's listening and paying attention. I'm going to turn it over to Janelle to see if she has anything to add to that.
No, I think Eileen handled that really, really well and very inclusive of everything. I think the only thing that I would add, specific to our agency, is that because NASA is a mission agency and we're pretty much looking for long game technologies. Our solicitation from year to year might change only by about 15 to 20%. So 75% of the subtopics that are in the solicitation that are sitting on our website today are going to be in some manner the same subtopics that will be there when our solicitation opens in January. So the great thing about that is that you can go to that solicitation, look and see where your technologies align, see who won awards in those past solicitations, in those past subtopics, and those are listed on our website as well. And so you can see what we asked for, see what we awarded, to give you a little bit better context of what we might be looking for going forward. And again, no guarantees that subtopic is going to be there every year, but because of the nature of the work that we do, they don't change rapidly for us. So that gives you an opportunity to do some homework, talk to those CTTLs that I talked about, and really dig into not only what we asked for in the solicitation, but what's the bigger picture around that technology need. But no, I think Eileen did great. The don'ts, of course, are the same that she mentioned. You know, don't assume that how DOD or DOE or NIH is looking for solicitations in the same format, that it will be the same format that NASA is looking for your proposal, I should say, in that same format. We tend to change depending on the way that we process your proposal. So you want to pay particularly attention to what kind of information we want, what formatting ways we want. Although the great thing too is that if you do have a technology that we all are interested in, you are welcome to provide that proposal to each one of our solicitations. You just can't accept an award from all of us for that same work. So it does allow you the opportunity to kind of fish around and see what agency is ready to bite on your technology.
Thank you, Janelle. Now, Henry, Rob, do you have anything else to add to that?
Yeah, just very quickly, what Janelle mentioned as far as submitting to all of us, please, if you do, let us know, because we talk to one another. We will reach out to one another, to the other agencies, just to make sure. So you don't want to get caught up in trying to slip something by us. And also, what Eileen had mentioned, also the fact that some of the don'ts, just please do not wait until the day of or the day, day before the submission date. Whatever submission date it is, give yourself some time to submit a good application. Take the time and try to correct things, like make sure that there are no spelling errors. I mean, this is kind of high schoolish, but we see a lot of spelling errors. We see a lot of applications that come in that are not following the instructions as far as font sizes, page limits, things that you would just feel as though they should know, people should know. But a lot of that just goes in one ear and out the other. They're just trying to get it in. So again, please do not wait till the last minute to submit an application to any of the agencies. Give yourself some time to submit a good application the first time out.
Yeah, and if I can add a few more things, I mean, I can't really emphasize it enough. You really do have to go through the solicitation guideline carefully to make sure that you include all the information that we're requesting, because each agency will have different type of things that they're looking for. And it's not actually, we do periodically see companies that are kind of recycling their proposals. So they submit it to NIH, and some of my reviewers also serve on NIH panel too, and they're looking at it and saying, hey, this is exactly in the NIH format. This company didn't really do the job of looking around and following NSF guideline and asking for $256,000 from NSF. So it really doesn't sit well, I think, with our reviewers. And another thing is, don't recycle the support letters either. Sometimes I see support letters that say, hey, we're very supportive of this company applying for NIH for funding. And when I go back, and one company in particular, I asked them about it, and they said, "Oh, we included it by accident." So that was their response. So you really do have to take the time, and if you do get declined for funding, please do circle back with us and have a discussion with us, have a debriefing call to understand if you are thinking about submitting your proposal again for consideration. I think it will be very important to have some discussion on what may have happened during the review process and some of the things that the company may be able to do to strengthen the case as a phase one applicant. And we do see many companies that just, for whatever the reason, although we encourage all the companies to do that, they just don't circle back with us, and they'll just submit another proposal with very little changes. And it's kind of hard to believe that some companies actually do expect to get a different result from basically the same proposal. And so please don't do that, and circle back with us and have a discussion with us. We are definitely available and approachable. So please do talk to us before you take the next step. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry. Now, I want to reiterate just some of the things that both Rob and Henry said, particularly when it comes to your actual proposal. Take the time to make sure everything is right. I was at USDA for 8 years. I saw each and every proposal every single year, hundreds of proposals I reviewed. And you do not want to get kicked out. Let me tell you, in any year, say 600, 700 proposals came in. Of those that could have been eligible, at least 150 kicked out because page links, they didn't follow directions, the font was wrong. You don't want to not get a review because of little things. Make sure if you're converting from Word to a PDF, page links can change all the time. You want to double check. And even also, as far as waiting until the last minute, I think they fixed a lot of that now in grants.gov or workspaces, but previously, sometimes if there was syntax errors or things of that nature and file names, you would not get notified in grants.gov of the error until 48 hours after submission. If you're submitting on the last day, 40 hours later does not help you. And I want to kind of piggyback on something that both Henry just said and Janelle alluded to earlier as far as communication, and with the introduction of April Richards from EPA. April, welcome. I'm going to start with you this question. Could you talk about the communication with EPA? Like, are potential applicants able to communicate beforehand? If so, is there a blackout period? And also, what is the communication like, say, if you did get declined?
Okay, great, thank you. Yeah, hi everyone, April Richards. Sorry, I had another event, and so I'm joining a little late, but yeah, communications. Let me just step back for 1 second and say EPA is one of the small SBIR agencies, so one funding opportunity a year, which at least makes it kind of simple. So our funding opportunity usually goes out in June. Yeah, I would say starting early obviously is a good piece of advice. You can contact me anytime with an idea, and I can sort of tell you whether I think it's going to fit into our topics. Again, EPA's budget is fairly small, so our topics are fairly tailored, and we really want proposals that are responsive to those topics, because we just do not have enough money to fund things outside of our topic areas. I wish we did. I don't know if my contracting officers listen, but I will try to answer questions anytime. We are not supposed to give specific advice when the solicitation is open, but I really do like to help companies, because I don't want you to waste your time to submit a proposal that we really can't fund or don't have the bandwidth to fund. So really just contact me anytime with questions, figure out whether it makes sense to put the effort into preparing a proposal to submit to us. I forgot if there was another part of that question.
What sort of communication is there after the award period? Say if you get declined, what sort of information, what communication is then given back to the applicant?
Great. And yes, why not get the feedback from the experts that reviewed your proposal, right? It's like a bonus, even if you don't get funded. So for us, I have to say, we just overhauled our review process to get the money out the door about twice as fast as we used to. So that's great. But we used to send results to everybody. So everybody got the review comments regardless, which was great, but that took us a lot of time. So we are not doing it automatically anymore. If you want your review comments, you just have to request them. And there's a window of opportunity to do that. So once the results go out, you'll get a notification and you have like 30 days to request your results, and we'd be glad to send you your review comments.
Thank you. Now I'm gonna piggyback over to Janelle. You talked about blackout periods earlier. Could you talk about that as far as when those periods are, as far as communication with program managers or leads for the programs, but and then also on the flip side, what sort of communication is there in feedback if an applicant does not win an award?
Excellent. So yeah, the blackout period effectively starts when our solicitation opens. And typically we try to open our solicitation every year in January. The exact date varies, but usually it's around between the 12th and the 17th. I'm not sure what day this year. And it stays in place until we are notified, everyone is notified of award. So you have 60 days when the solicitation is open, and then you have our review and evaluation process. And so awards typically happen sometime in May. So that is the time period where there is no communications on the technical content of the proposal, of the solicitation. If you have other questions, even during that time frame that are outside of technical questions, you can always contact our help desk, and the help desk number is on our website, sbir.nasa.gov. You can always contact them if you have any issues about submitting your proposal or any issues about your proposal outside of the, talking specifically to a technical person. So once we are out of blackout, again, we are welcome all kind of communication about the technology. Oh, and Eldon asked me to respond to how do we communicate regarding your proposal. If you were a unsuccessful proposer, and we will automatically give you a debrief of your phase 1 proposal. If you were a awardee for phase 1, you can request even a debrief of your proposal if you just wanted to see how the subject matter experts evaluated you. But automatically we provide that debrief to our phase 1 unsuccessful proposers. For phase 2, everyone has to request it. So whether you were a awardee or not, you would have to go into the system and request a debrief for your proposal for that.
Thank you, Janelle. Henry, how about you? Any sort of blackout period with communication to NSF, and also what sort of feedback do applicants receive if they are denied an award?
Yeah, so once the proposal is submitted, until the panel meets, we can't interact with applicants in any way. So during that time, we will not be able to communicate, but sometime after the panel meets, sometimes we do actually go back and get some additional clarification from companies. So there may be some communication after the panel meets for clarifications, for us to clarify things. If the award is made or the proposal is declined, the company will be notified by email. And after that email notification goes out, companies can always circle back with us and have a discussion with us. Companies can log into our system. They will be able to download all the individual reviews that were done for that proposal. And in most cases, when the panel actually had a meeting to discuss, there will be a panel summary to go along with the individual reviews. So companies should be able to download all those documents. If they can't really find exactly where those documents are, they can contact our Fastlane help desk, who will be able to help companies navigate through the system to get to all those documents. And companies are strongly encouraged to just review all those documents and just circle back with us. And I know some companies, when they see those comments, they will come back and they want to discuss, they want to say something like, well, we want to address it this way. Is that going to be sufficient to get funded? We really can't have a discussion like that, that type of discussion. But if there are certain things that are not clear, for example, we can help clarify those comments. And in some cases, we are able to help companies understand the review process a little better. For example, those individual reviews, they also put in their own rating, but they don't really translate to any type of scoring system. And many of the companies that are in this space, I guess they are very familiar with NIH, and they want to know what their score was and whether that translates to any meaningful number for them, whether it's fundable or not. And we don't really work with that type of scoring system. As a group, we discuss, and as a group, we decide whether it's a competitive proposal or not. So, so the panel does take a slightly different approach, and I can go over these things with the company and help the company to understand exactly what happens, what the process might be, and what the next steps might be if the company decides to come back and submit a proposal again for consideration.
Thank you, Henry. Rob, same question. Talk about communication, both pre-application and post-application. Probably the best way of doing that very succinctly there.
One of the things that we sort of pride ourselves on here at the NIH is that you can basically talk to us at any time. You can, prior to the award being submitted, of course, up until you actually hit the submit button to send it in. But then after that, only after the application has been reviewed, can you speak with us again. So that time frame between when it's submitted and till it's actually reviewed is the only time that you're not going to be able to reach out and talk to anyone, because basically we don't know anything at that point anyway, other than the fact that your application has been submitted and received. All applications, if an application is not funded, you will receive, or the applicant will receive, a summary statement. And in that summary statement is going to talk about what or why your application was not sent forward or is not going to be funded. You have an opportunity to address those concerns. You have an opportunity to address them and reach back out and to submit another application. Please do not respond or address those concerns. Don't just get the summary statement and throw it in a corner. The summary statements are very helpful. And if you don't receive an award at that particular time for that particular project, it will certainly benefit you in any upcoming or other projects that you want to submit or applications you want to submit. We have 3 receipt dates, as I mentioned earlier. So, it provides a lot of flexibility. You don't have to rush to try to get an application submitted to us. Right now is the perfect time to start on any January submission. You have registrations that need to be completed. You need to have time to speak to a program official. You need to have time to sit down and put the application together correctly and try to do it the first time out. We strongly suggest that you do that and don't wait. I can't stress that enough. Please do not wait till the last week or the day before to try to get these applications submitted. Even electronically, there's way too much that needs to be done, way too many items that need to be verified and need to be corrected before submitting an application to us.
Thank you, Rob. And I'll leave the last few comments to you, Eileen, as far as communication is concerned.
Hi, can everybody hear me? I got kicked out of the meeting, something unstable about my internet, but I'm back. Okay, so we do allow the topic communication with the topic authors from the time the topics document is released until the application is submitted. So that's a 3-month period. But what we say is do not contact the topic authors with the intention to sell your technology or your company. That's what your application is for. You really want to reach out to them and ask them specific information about the topic so that you can really understand what they're looking for. So the communication we request is to just really a specific information that you're asking about the topic to understand it as fully as possible. Also, please give the topic authors time to respond to your questions, and most of them will. Unfortunately, some of them are fairly busy, and not in every case you will get a response, but we do really encourage people to reach out to topic authors, and many of them will respond and get on an email chain with you or even a phone call with you. Once the applications are submitted, there's not any value in communicating with the topic managers. Your proposal is under review. We do have a review process where various strengths of the proposal are evaluated, the technical merit of your approach, the ability of the team to execute the project, and the potential impact of the feasibility study if you are successful. Those are the criteria for the review. The proposals are then ranked, and the most highly ranked proposals are funded. Sometimes there's a lot of good proposals that are recommended for funding but do not receive funding because we just are limited in terms of the amount of funding. We have a very specific amount of funding that we provide for the awards. And finally, in terms of not getting a award, you do get feedback and reviews on your proposal, and you really want to try to take that review and figure out how you can make your proposal better next time. People do better with proposals. Sometimes it takes 2 or 3 tries to get an award. So don't give up on the first try. Please keep trying. And you also, you can always reach out to topic managers in general about your technology, and you can suggest topics as well to them. So they may want to engage in a conversation outside of the solicitation with you about your technology, and you can suggest topics to them as well too. So that's kind of how it works in the DOE.
Thank you, Eileen. Now, I'm going to pause for a second because we have a very insightful question from the audience that pertains to just what goes in the application. Well, I said what's important in the application, as we've talked about feedback and everything. Regarding letters of support, are there any preferences for obtaining letters of support from potential customers versus from strategic partners or investors? And I will throw that one to Henry first.
Sure. Yeah, support letters are definitely, I mean, I think they can really strengthen a proposal. But what I generally tell companies is that any support letter is better than no support letter at all. But it also has to be in line with what the company is trying to do. So if a company gets a support letter from a potential customer, for example, saying this is going to be great, I would use it. But if the company is still 10 years away before being able to commercialize, perhaps it's not as strong as perhaps getting a letter from an investor who may be coming right after where we come in, hopefully. And I think that's really important, and also be in line with what the company is trying to do. So if the company is doing some brain work, for example, brain imaging, and if they're submitting a proposal, I mean, support letter from another company for another type of imaging, and if the company has no intention of going to other organs or other parts of the body, maybe that's not going to be as important. And I've had this type of discussion with a company not long ago, and they said, hey, we just wanted to show that there are other people out there who are interested in our technology. And I think having interest is a good thing, but having interest and potentially being able to assist with the commercial process, that's even, I think, more important, because we know that the money that we provide it's not going to be enough for the company to be able to commercialize. The companies really have to go out, be able to raise money to private investors or strategic partners. In some cases, customers' feedback would be very important in terms of how what type of work to work on. Maybe they'll help dictate some of the important features that the company needs to work on first before getting perhaps to those other less important features. So I think all those things are important, but the more commitment, the better. And the more in line with what the company is trying to do, the better. And the closer to where they might come in to help companies to grow will be better. But again, some sort of support letter is better than none.
Thank you, Henry. I'll go to Janelle next with the same question.
So we're in a little different situation where, yes, we absolutely, if you have previous work that you've done that's relevant to your proposal and to the technology that we're looking for, please do provide that information. You know, any type of endorsement from a commercial entity that you've worked with is welcomed. But it's not that, and I shouldn't say that it's not important. It is. It's a great icing on the cake of your body of work that you've done to have somebody validate it through a formal type of letter. But you know, we're more interested in understanding what you're going to do, and we're hoping that we're asking for technologies that are very unique and pushing the envelope. And so having a track record of positive interactions and completing work is great. But we're really looking for you to address your work plan, what your technology is about, what your qualifications are, as succinctly as possible. So again, I agree with Henry. Those things are always great to validate the work that you've done. But we're in, you know, we've not said that folks had to have them. We certainly feel like it is a nice way to augment your proposal, but because of the limitation in paging and things of that sort, it may not be what you want to include, you know, in your body, if that helps.
Thank you, Janelle. Rob, I throw it over to you. How does NIH feel about letters of support?
Yeah, just like Henry and Janelle said, investors, customers or end users, they're going to be the priority on what you should be submitting. Please, all of our family and friends think we're great, but that has no merit. That's not going to carry any weight. Also, we get a lot of letters of support and, from politicians. That's nice. That's nice. However, that politician is not going to be buying your product, you know, after investing in your company. Well, maybe, I don't know, but that's not going to carry a lot of weight as far as receiving an award from us. So kind of stay away from that. You know, just like Henry and Janelle said, investors and end users or customers are going to be the priority.
Thank you, Rob. I'm glad you mentioned the politicians and so on and so forth.
I stay in trouble.
Well, no, it's a fact though. You know, you have to remember, and before I get to April and Eileen, was like, you have to remember you're applying. This is a technical review.
Right.
So you want letters of support that coalesce with the technical aspects, especially of phase one, and to endorse the technical aspects of the technology you're proposing. That's what you're going to be really judged on when it comes to the review process, the technical merits and your team and the team's capabilities, amongst other things. And depending on the age of phase one, commercialization as well to varying degrees. Remember, phase one is very much proof of concept, the proof that you can do it, as this technology can work. So you, at its core, you want letters of support that really go along with endorsing this technology. Hey, we believe in it. We're going to invest in it. Hey, this is something we see can work and have a beneficial to them, you know, things of that nature. Okay, sorry. April, Eileen, anything else to add?
would like to add just one thing for EPA. Just, you made me think of it when you were saying. I will just say in phase one, we evaluate technical merit, relevancy to the topic, and commercial strength. And those are all equally weighted. So we're really looking for commercial potential even in phase one. So a letter of support that talks about a viable partner and really supports our review criteria, that's really going to help you. But we do have a page limit, so you have to figure out whether it's worth using it in your page limit or not. So.
Thank you. Eileen.
I don't really have that much to add. I think what Henry said was very good and really kind of was sort of a fit with what the DOE is looking for. And letters of support are more important in our phase 2 application than our phase 1 application because it's more focused on commercialization. But they are always good if they're relevant. So, yeah.
Okay. And Eileen, I'm going to stay with you. Who are your reviewers? We've talked about just the review, not so much the actual step-by-step of the review processes of each one of your agencies, but we talked about what reviewers look for, what you want to include in your application. Who actually reviews the applications for DOE?
Our program offices recruit reviewers, and it is a mix of academics. It is also people from the national labs, and it is people from the Department of Energy as well. And it can be people from private industry. The main thing is that they are going to be technical experts in your area of expertise. So they will be very specifically knowledgeable about the technology that you're developing. It is a team of 3 people for each proposal for the phase 1. For phase 2, it's a team of 3 technical reviewers, and then there's a person who will evaluate the phase 2 commercialization plan.
Thank you, Eileen. I'll go to Henry to ask the same question. Who are your reviewers?
Sure. We have people that we call business reviewers as well as technical reviewers. And technical reviewers tend to be faculty. They're usually faculty somewhere within the country. So they're the people that are in the field doing kind of research that are in the related field. We have people that are considered commercial or business reviewers that sometimes they're entrepreneurs, sometimes they're investors. We have some regulatory consultants, some medical doctors as well. And so it's people that can provide feedback on something that's just other than the actual technical engineering work, perhaps. But I think even though many of these what we call commercial reviewers are classified as commercial reviewers, they generally do come in with enough technical background to be able to comment on the technical side. So with phase 1 companies, we try to do at least, just like Eileen, we do at least 3 reviews per proposal. With phase 2, we have at least 4 reviewers, at least 2 are technical reviewers, and at least 2 are what we call business or commercial reviewers.
Thank you, Henry. I'll go down to April with the same question. Who are your reviewers?
Sure, thanks. So I mentioned before, we're looking for technical strength, relevancy to the topic, and commercial strength. So we actually outsource our commercial review now. That's new. So that goes to a contractor that will look at commercial potential. And then we're doing technical and relevancy review in-house with EPA experts, scientists, and experts. So it's either going to be someone from EPA. So I always say, like, if you're going to submit a proposal to us, like, get people at EPA excited. Like, what is the impact that your technology could have on saving the planet? We're looking at the technical merit too, with all the criteria laid out. We'll check the boxes on all of those, but we are really mission oriented. So we're really looking for something that's going to help us meet our mission. And same 3 reviews for proposal in phase 1 and same for phase 2.
Thank you, April. I'll turn it over to Janelle with the same question. Who reviews proposals submitted to NASA?
NASA's proposals are reviewed internally by our subject matter experts, and typically it's 2 reviewers for both the phase 1 and the phase 2. The difference in the phase 2 proposals is that we do have a commercial peer review panel that looks at the commercialization potential. That's where we really want to make sure that in your phase 2 proposal, you're discussing the further commercialization of the technology that you're developing. So we have a panel that looks and provides a review of that. And yeah, that's primarily how we do it.
Thank you very much. And Rob, how about you?
Yeah, we have a mix of reviewers. However, we have a two-tier process. Congressionally mandated 2 different peer review groups or 2 levels of review. The first one is through our Center for Scientific Review. We bring reviewers in who are from academia, entrepreneurs, businessmen, other experts that have got technical expertise in that field. And then the second level of review is more internal with the institute that's actually funding. And we have, again, a mix of individuals on that panel, along with staff to review those applications that come in. And usually we have anywhere between 3 to 4 reviewers per application that come in.
Great. Is that about right? All right. Awesome. So we talked about the reviewers. Now, one of the questions that we had beforehand that Kristen team have gotten a lot of that I would like each one of you to address is, what sort of leverage or input do program managers have with the proposals, or do program managers dictate who gets funded?
No.
I like that answer. How about you, Janelle?
Not completely. Certainly, yeah. So certainly they have a lot to say about what subtopics we ask for. They have a lot to say about whether the technology aligns well with what their mission needs. But ultimately, as with any solicitation, we have a source selection official who makes the final decision with input from the technical folks, from the strategic programmatic folks. All of those commercialization and phase 2 is pulled in. So all of those entities contribute to the final decision that the source selection official makes.
Okay, Henry.
That was very politically correct, and absolutely. Thank you, Janelle. You save me all the time. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, we have panel of experts coming in to provide us with feedback, and we wouldn't go through this process if we didn't think that meant anything. So the way we look at it, we have these experts coming in. They spend many hours. Some of my reviewers tell me that they spend at least 3 hours per proposal. And they try to provide as much detailed feedback as possible. And our job is to just take all those feedback and make the best recommendation possible. So I think the fact that we have all these experts that are spending their time, they certainly don't get paid enough to do all the things that they do. And the fact that, that we're getting this meaningful feedback from them, I think that's the important part, that people submitting the proposal really have to be able to convince the panel of experts that the company has something innovative and that it has commercial potential, and those other things that the company is required to submit.
Thank you, Henry. April?
Yeah, exactly what they said. But I would say the only thing I get, like if it comes down to a tiebreaker or something like that, if proposals are really close, or if there's maybe some program balance where we're trying to get geographic diversity or something that's really last. But yes, for the most part, we listen to our reviewers, and that's why we pay them the big bucks. But yeah, I get a little say with program balance at the end. That's what I'll add.
Eileen?
Yeah, what April said. Yeah, we primarily rely on the reviewers' recommendations, but there is always an option for the program managers to look at balanced and that type of thing, and balance their portfolio a little bit. It is a little used feature, but it is something that is available to the program managers.
Thank you. I will say, just from my time with USDA, that is something you saw occasionally. And one of the things with USDA, especially for phase 1, not so much for phase 2, because you receive a lot less application. But for phase one, there was a certain percentage that we knew we could possibly fund that. And then with 10 topic areas, after everyone had their panels and everyone had selections, then everyone got together to see what we could fund. And with that, you did see national program leaders who at USDA are over each of the topic areas may want to shift, excuse me, or champion a proposal based on the portfolio, research need, also geographic, but at no point in time that any proposal or was any proposal championed that wasn't recommended or worthy of being funded. Those shifts don't happen just because. They have to be well reviewed and be recommended by the reviewers. And that's something you're going to hear across the board. So you may have some shift as far as, like I said, like was said, program wise or portfolio wise or geographic wise, but every single proposal that's funded was recommended for funding by our reviewers, and that doesn't change.
Yeah, one more thing, Eldon. At
Yes.
the end of the fiscal year, we sometimes have the program officers have the ability to suggest awards that have programmatic significance and programmatic relevance, and they're able to basically reach down and pull an award up, particularly if, end of the fiscal year, you're trying to make sure you spend all your money and it, received a fundable score, but it wasn't high enough to actually get funded or paid. So that is the only time where they have a little pull and a little leverage to be able to do something like that.
Well, that's only when you have the big bucks like NIH. I'm pretty sure April would like to have those problems. But thank you all for your comments.
But Eldon, that does remind me of something kind of connected to that, in that, and one of the things that folks probably should really know is when they're talking to each one of the agencies, whether we are under communications blackout or not, when you can talk to those agencies, suggest subtopics. That is another area that we've had a lot of success from, is folks coming in and saying, hey, have you thought about this as a subtopic for your next solicitation? And it certainly helps that you suggested it, and it certainly would help you be a little bit more successful in getting an award under it. So.
Thank you, Joe. That is a perfect segue. I couldn't have planned that better into the next question. We have a question from the audience. Is there a way to suggest a proposal topic that where a specific agency were aware of the potential capability that would be a strong interest? In other words, be proactive versus reactive. So can a company suggest topics? Janelle already talked about the suggesting of subtopics. And I know, Rob, I'll go with you since NIH is very much PI initiated. Could you talk about that briefly?
Sure, very quickly. We like 75% of our awards are what we call investigator initiated, where you send us a topic. If it fits within our mission or our program goals, one of the institutes will look at trying to fund it. And just like the other agencies, we have a list of topics that you can choose from also. But you're right, a lot of times your research is not going to fall within those topics. And then that's when you can reach out to us and talk about something that doesn't quite fit into our topics list.
I'm going to swing it over to Eileen for her comments on that.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned before that when we're talking about communication with program managers, you can suggest topics. What I would do is you look in the topics document and find a topic that is close to what it is that you're doing and reach out to that person, because in our topics document at the end of each subtopic, the top subtopics, there's a contact. So look through the topics document. You could look through one of the older ones, fiscal year 21, for example, and you could look for some synergies with your research and development, and you can reach out to that person and, start a discussion on SBIR topics.
All right. April, how about you?
Yeah, we have more topics than we have money for, so probably not. I'll just shift it and kind of be like a politician and answer what I want to answer, and just say that, like, when we put out topics, we kind of put out like problems. Maybe other agencies do this too, but we put out like, we have a problem with water reuse, and we want solutions to that. So we don't prescribe the technology. So if you have a technology within the water reuse space, I'd be happy to chat with you and see if we think it fits that topic and is a solution to us. But we won't ask for specific topics like we ask for solutions to problems.
Thank you very much. All right, Henry, how about you?
Yeah, I mentioned this earlier, and with NSF, there is no such thing as bad topic fit. As long as the technology is innovative and there's commercial potential with the technology, there is a fit somewhere. So if you look at the list of all the topics, and each of us, there are, I believe, 12 of us now, we will handle some specific topics, and each topic has a bunch of subtopics, and more likely than not, it will fit under one of those topics that we have. And you can always contact us and have a discussion with us if you're not sure about where to go. But we also have another topic that we created called other topics. So if you don't see the fit, just go ahead and submit your project pitch under other topic. We will look at it, and based on what you're trying to do with this project, we will move it to a topic that we believe is the best fit. And once the company hears back regarding the project pitch, they'll know exactly which topic that they will be under, and they'll know exactly who the program director is that they need to have discussions with if they have questions. So the project pitch is the important part. Just go ahead and submit it there. When in doubt, just submit it under other topic, and by the time you hear back, you'll know exactly which topic.
All right, thank you. Who's left? Did I get everybody? All right, well, I think we're about at time. I'll leave it open. Anyone have any last comments? Or am I turning it over to Krista?
Please feel free if you have any other.
Talk to us. Talk to us. Don't be afraid to reach out. Talk to us.
This is great.
Yeah, I'll just say too, we really want new companies in the program. So even if you haven't applied before, we really want new companies to enter the program. So again, don't be afraid to reach out with your ideas.
And I want to say that one of the policy directives of the SBIR STTR program is to foster and encourage underrepresented groups to become participants of the SBIR STTR program. So with that said, we are always looking for the opportunity to elevate awareness of the SBIR program with minority business entrepreneurs and women-owned small businesses as well. So we have an application assistance program as well, which is designed to help first-time applicants navigate the application process. And it's a good option for those of you who are just getting into SBIR.
And don't forget to browse through our website too. We do have a lot of useful information there. And more likely than not, if you go through the website, there will be some other questions that you didn't think about. So please do browse through the website, go through the solicitation, and as Rob said, just talk to us. Come and talk to us whenever you have questions.
That's great.
I would say always go to sbir.gov for your one-stop shop with all your SBIR questions.
Well, with that was excellent. Thank you all so much. We're just so grateful for everything that you've all shared with our audience today. And I'm sure this session, which is recorded, will be viewed over and over again. It will be posted on our website for everyone listening in at ffvcnc.org.